This video is sponsored by BeybladeX, a site where you can purchase all the latest BeybladeX parts, from Drawn Strike to Unicorn Delta to Bullet Gryphon. Anything you might need can be found on BeybladeX. You can get any kind of blades you need, any kind of ratchets you need, any kind of bits you need. All of it's there for your competitive BeybladeX needs. You can go ahead and use code RASAMIBaycraft at the checkout for 8% off of your order. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Apologies if y'all hear me like sounding a bit weird. I am recording this while I'm a little bit sick, but either way. So, the deck that I was using for this tournament was Aero Pegasus on 360 level, Bullet Gryphon on Unite, and Shark Scale on 160 Wall Ball. Long story short, this deck got me to the top cut of a 64-person tournament. And you're seeing footage right here. The way that this tournament works is that there were 6 rounds of Swiss format, and matches are best of 2 sets, first to 4 points for each set. And basically who had the highest performances in the rounds of Swiss got to make it to the top cut, which is a single elimination bracket with the same set rules. But yeah, you're gonna see here that I lost this first set because Aero Pegasus lost a spin finish, and then immediately Bullet Gryphon got extremed. But I restart on the shuffle. Shark Scale gets an over finish, and then Aero Pegasus goes up against the Cobalt Dragoon, which is what I really want to see because Aero Pegasus is on level, but AP self-extremes, and yeah, not great for me. However, Bullet Gryphon is here to make a comeback for me. So there's this tech where if you deep tilt Bullet Gryphon on Unite, it is really difficult for the opponent to split Bullet Gryphon, so you just have 60 grams of Beyblade completely weight bullying your opponent. Whether it be a Shark Scale, a Hover Wyvern, a Wizard Rod on 160 Hexa, it'll weight bully them until they stop spinning. And you can see right here, this is exactly how it happens. So yeah, that got me one outspin there. It's 3-3. You can see Shark Scale getting big hits on this Wizard Rod, and there's a reason I run it on Wall Ball, because Wall Ball gives Shark Scale just enough stamina to the point where if it starts hitting Wizard Rod on Hexa strong enough, it'll outspin the Wizard Rod Hexa. But at the same time, Wall Ball itself has very similar properties to Hexa because of the fact that it does have that little ridge on the end that stabilizes it. Granted, I did lose that first set. But yeah, going into the second set, my opponent was running Golem Rock into my Aero Pegasus. And AP gets the over finish. Second battle is Wizard Rod versus Bullet Gryphon. Sorry, I'm blocking the screen. We can see Bullet right here, doing its job, being an absolutely heavy piece of Beyblade. Either way, Bullet just kind of bullies What am I saying? Bullet bullies the Wizard Rod into submission because it just kind of stops Wizard Rod Hexa from spinning. It's just that heavy. You can see here the Wizard Rod is barely able to last against the Bullet. And now it's time for Shark Scale versus Hover Wyvern. The Shark Scale on Wall Ball likes to stall around the Tornado Ridge while the Hover Wyvern misses an Extreme Dash, hits one, but because of Wall Ball, Shark Scale tanks it and stays in the stadium. And that gives me another point. And that gives me one set. Now I'm on the other side because my opponent decided to opt for a side switch, which allowed their Wizard Rod to get an overfinish on my AP. And then their Golem somehow KO'd my entire Bullet Gryphon. So I switched the side back because I pretty much gave a set to my opponent there. And now it's Bullet Gryphon into Hover Wyvern. And And you can see me using my reverse grip here because reverse grip on a winder launcher gives you a lot more power for Bullet Gryphon. Bullet is such a heavy Beyblade that it's really difficult to use a string launcher with it, so I have to use reverse grip with a winder launcher for it to get a decent amount of spin, at least for me. And Hover Wyvern gets outspun here by Bullet. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see me do a video on how to use reverse grip for BeybladeX. Because it's a very fun technique, and I feel like a lot of people are very much interested in it. So comment if you want to see that, and yeah, I'll probably do it. But yeah, Shark Scale versus Wizard Rod. And we know how this goes. Wizard Rod either outspins or Shark Scale outspins or gets a knockout. And you can see Wall Ball is putting in work here against this Hexa. Wait for it. Yep, you can see Shark Scale outspun the Wizard Rod. And that gave me that game. So I'm now 1-1. On to my next opponent. And my opponent self-KO'd with their bullet against my AP. So that gave me 2 points right there. So now it's time for my bullet versus their Cobalt, and their Cobalt somehow managed to extreme the entire Bullet Gryphon without splitting it. Now it's Wizard Rod versus Shark Scale. And you can see Wizard Rod wastes all of its stamina doing those 3 extreme dashes, and Shark Scale just stays there as Wizard Rod pockets itself. And you can see here the reverse grip coming back for the Bullet Gryphon. And you can see that my Bullet Gryphon isn't splitting at all, while their Bullet Gryphon also isn't splitting because one of us decided to go for a hard tilt while the other didn't tilt at all. And now you can see here that our bullets have split. My Gryphon doesn't actually have a sticker on it, so that way it's easier to tell apart from my opponent. And also my bullet's on a Unite. Well, a different colored Unite. And we can see here, AP versus Wizard Rod. AP gets an extreme on the Wizard and gives me the game. On to the next opponent. AP versus Hover Wyvern. By the way, shoutouts to Baylocker because this Aero Pegasus has gotten me so many wins in tournaments now. Well, not tournament wins, but like match wins in tournaments. This Aero Pegasus is amazing. Shoutouts to Baylocker for the Aero Pegasus. But yeah, my opponent was running some weird anti-meta stuff here, because they were running Wizard Arrow in slot 1, and Perseus Dark in their second slot for some reason. I was like, what the heck is this deck that they're using here? It didn't work as AP outspun the Wizard Arrow, and Bullet very clearly is able to outspin the Perseus. And for Shark Scale, it bounces in the stadium and gets an immediate pocket against the opponent, who is using Shark Edge. And now we're on a side switch. It's Bullet versus, I forget what it was, but either way, they extremed the Bullet immediately. And Shark Scale bursts their Wizard Arrow. And now it's Aero Pegasus versus their Perseus Dark. We get a Tornado Stall. And after the Tornado Stall, AP tips over the Perseus. It's going to be Shark Scale versus Wizard Arrow now, which is going to be another boring stamina match. And yeah, I did get that set. Wait, no, I didn't get that. I didn't get that set. The opponent got that set because Wizard Arrow barely outlasted. So, yeah, we run back to the third set, and that's game. And yeah, for this was a crazy opening because Arrow Pegasus versus Arrow Pegasus, they both explode. Not burst, but like they both kind of just ricochet around the entire stadium for each other, and mine didn't come out on top there. But it's time for Bullet Gryphon versus Shark Scale. One of Bullet's best matchups if you're on Unite. I say before extreming myself. It's fine. The extreme was tactical. But yeah. Bullet versus Shark again. And now we can see why it's actually one of Bullet's best matchups, because 60 grams of Beyblade should not be ever getting extremed by a Shark. Nor should it ever be getting outspun by a Shark. And now it's AP versus AP again. And we can see this is why I'm not really a fan of AP mirrors, because both of the times AP just kind of does whatever. So it's kind of really hard to play AP into AP, especially if you're on level versus rush. But Shark Scale Wall Ball is one of the funniest combos in my deck. I love Shark Scale on Wall Ball. It's not the best Shark Scale combo, but it does work. When it works, it really works. When it doesn't work, it just bursts. But yeah, AP versus Wizard Rod. Kind of a difficult matchup because Wizard Rod on Hexa just kind of tanks most of what AP can dish out. And AP in this matchup in particular just says no, because Wizard Rod is Wizard Rod. Anyways, it's time for Bullet Gryphon versus Phoenix Wing. And yeah, Bullet versus Phoenix Wing kind of plays out the same way it would play out as like Bullet versus Shark Scale or Bullet versus Hover Wyvern. Either way, Bullet takes this. I am hard carried by Bullet Gryphon. And my Shark Scale goes into a a Silver Wolf on 180 Yielding. A lot of people at this tournament were running some weird combos, and somehow I kept matching into them. But yeah, the Silver Wolf takes out the Shark. And honestly, I have no idea what happened there. Shark Scale bursts the Silver Wolf. Now it was time for a no, not for a side switch. The side switch just happened with the Shark versus Silver Wolf. But yeah, it's Bullet versus Wizard Rod. And I love this matchup because Bullet versus Rod Hexa is like 50-50. Either Bullet outspins or Wizard Rod outspins. And in this case, Bullet outspins. And here, we kind of see that my Shark Scale bursts their Silver Wolf again. And then, yeah, for this one, AP knocks out their Phoenix Wing, giving me the game. And now this is going to be my top cut match. So, we cut at top 16. And I, unfortunately, go against one of the top players in the NorCal Beyblade League, Kyotaro. But yeah, that first match, I extreme his Arrow Pegasus. And in the second, his Shark bursts my Bullet Gryphon in a spectacular fashion. Yeah, Kyotaro is one of the best bladers in the NorCal Beyblade League. Funnily enough, there was a tournament at which point, it wasn't a ranked tournament, but it was a tournament where Kyo had beaten Jacob Pomegranate. So, yeah, he's a really great blader. And every time I run into this guy in brackets, he usually ends my run. So, he's kind of my bracket demon. And yeah, you can see his Wizard Rod outspun my Shark Scale. And we onto the shuffle. It is currently 3-3, so I run my Bullet into his Wizard Rod. Bullet splits, which isn't good for me because I was really relying on the weight from the 60 grams of Bullet Gryphon to bully the Wizard Rod, which didn't happen. Kyotaro got the outspin, which made him get the comeback from my first Extreme finish. And now it's his Shark Scale versus my Aero Pegasus. And we can see my AP takes the outspin here after a long bout of mostly nothing. And now it's my Bullet Gryphon versus his Aero Pegasus. And it gets a big hit on my Bullet Gryphon, doesn't do much, but then it splits Bullet Gryphon, and yeah, from here it's not looking good for Bullet because Bullet keeps doing some friendly fire on Gryphon here, but his AP is very much tilted at the moment, so we'll see who outspins, and it goes to my Bullet, or Bullet Gryphon, and now Shark Scale versus Wizard Rod. Big hit from the Shark Scale. But it wants to hit Wizard Rod a lot harder than that, so Wizard Rod can waste its stamina by hitting the rail. It almost knocks out the Wizard Rod. And there's the Extreme from my Shark Scale. So now we both have one set. It is a terrifying thing, because here we both get our bays. And Bullet Gryphon gets outspun. AP gets... I screwed up and launched Aero Pegasus into the pocket. And yeah, that cost me a huge point that could have gone to knockout had I not launched myself into the pocket there. But yeah, now it's Shark Scale versus Shark Scale. And his Shark Scale knocks mine out for the win. And that's my tournament run. Yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you guys want to see the reverse grip tutorial. And without further ado, make sure to use my code at BeyLocker if you want to buy BeybladeX parts. And I've been Robo Baycrafter Extraordinaire, Rasami Baycraft, signing off. Later!